right, guys, welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand. In this episode, I have a very special guest, which I do want to talk about. She is probably one of the most famous people that wants to be my friend, but I've never been friends until we had this interview. And, she just knows a lot of people that I know somehow. So we've never actually connected. So this is actually the first time we're actually speaking and talking to each other. She is a business owner. She owns like one of the most famous bookkeeping services out there right now. She has, just a lot of good clients, and she is now hitting, I think last year you hit $1 million and you're hitting another $1 million this year. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Maya Weinreb. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I usually do my millennial raise the roof. Can I do it anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was so happy when you reached out to me. I love being on podcasts. I love helping people. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I guess for people who don't know you, because I have a lot of people that may know you, may not know you, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into your bookkeeping service?
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of out of high school was probably just drifting, like a lot of high school people, kind of not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And I got a, job at a corporate kind of entry level. And it was like, well, you can be the receptionist, or for a couple dollars more an hour, you can be like accounting clerk. And I was like, I'll be the accounting clerk, So kind of started out that way. And then I actually don't remember which came first, but then I had a job as an office manager for my boyfriend's mom's landscape construction company. So I kind of learned, invoicing and billing and things like that. And then I just sort of kept that track on my career and was always in the accounting area in companies. And, but, and I've said this a few times, I'm a little cocky. I got a little bit to the point where it was like, I know how to do this better than the business owners do. And I thought they were stupid. And so, they would tell me to do things that didn't make any sense or whatever. So I kind of was like, I should start my own company. And I tried a couple of times, and it wasn't like I would say that I failed. I didn't feel like I failed at the time. I just felt like I kind of didn't get off the ground. And then I finally did get off the ground. I was the CFO for a marketing company, a really good friend of mine. And he knew that I, had wanted my own company. And so we kind of had a conversation. He was like, I think you should pursue what you want to do. And so I did, and we're still really good friends. And I really thank him for, kind of helping me launch, because I think I already had some bookkeeping clients on the side or whatever. And then it's been a really interesting path. That was in 2018. And I realized that this cockiness that I had of thinking I was smarter was really dumb, because of course I know more about bookkeeping than business owners do, because that's not what they're doing. And that's not what they should be doing. They started their company. They're a lawyer, they're a doctor, they're a marketer. They are really good at that. Why would anyone expect them to also be good at bookkeeping? So I'm a little more humble now. Probably a lot of people would say not enough, because I think confidence is important, but I'm a little more humble, a little more understanding, and I can kind of see both sides of it. And I also really learned that in my, leaf in the wind, spinning around, not knowing, there was a period of my life, as a teenager, early 20s, really but what is my purpose? And I couldn't fucking figure it out. And then I realized that you don't find a purpose. Usually, I mean, maybe some people do, and I'm super happy for them, but most of the time you have to choose a purpose. And I decided I was going to help people. And I decided that my vehicle for helping people was going to be through finance and bookkeeping and things like that. It's an area where people need a lot of help, and I have a lot of knowledge. So it became kind of an easy direction to go. But a lot of lessons learned along the way, because then I was little Miss Bookkeeper trying to learn hiring and managing and marketing in order to run a company, and kind of really learned a lot of lessons and was like, oh, I get it. Like this person who had a $10 million, $25 million company, $1 million company that I worked for, they were really good at a lot of things, but like maybe not bookkeeping,
Yeah.
but like I don't know anything about anything except bookkeeping. And I thought it was a good idea to start my own company. So here I am. Now I'm still really good at bookkeeping and pretty good at some other things.
It's funny that you mentioned that, is that a lot of people kind of make the mistake a lot especially in the financial and the bookkeeping. It's just sometimes they lose and they kind of confuse things. So I guess like for you, could you define for maybe the audience, like what is bookkeeping? Like what is that? What does that mean really in a business?
Yeah. No, it's true because there's a lot of different words that are used in finance field and they kind of get used interchangeably sometimes. But bookkeeping is the very, very basic, action or technology of recording transactions that happened. And the reason you do that is so that for two reasons. One, and the most important reason, so you can make correct decisions with your company. If you don't know how much money you're making, or you don't know what areas of your company are making money. For instance, if you have a few different revenue streams, so you have to know how much revenue is coming from each area, so you know what to strengthen. And then you have to know what you're spending your money on and and for what areas of your company, so that you can see the profit per revenue stream. Because how do you know when you should hire someone? How do you know like a next person? How do you know what's a good investment? How do you know if your marketing is effective? You need to know your numbers. So that's the first reason you need it is to manage your company. Bookkeeping also includes, things like payroll, sales tax, like kind of everything in the basic level of finances that's not taxes, as far as like your annual IRS taxes, which is going to be your tax preparer, your accountant, your CPA. And then there's kind of this like piece level in between that could be considered accounting or bookkeeping, which is kind of like higher level, like, tracking your assets and how much value they lose and certain like entries that you need in your books for tax purposes, that sometimes the bookkeeper will do it and sometimes your CPA or tax preparer will do it. So it makes sense why it gets confusing. But in general, the basic definition is going to be tracking where you spent your money, entering historically all the transactions. The other reason, of course, is to file your taxes. If you don't have that information, you can't file your taxes. The other things that you can't do if you don't have bookkeeping is get investors, get loans, sell your company, have tax planning. So it's basically like the basic of everything in accounting, finances, taxes, everything and anything else, whether you're in mergers and acquisitions, whether you're in insurance, whether you're in taxes, all these things, all of them are going to say, can I get a P&L and balance sheet? P&L meaning profit and loss, before they'll do anything else. So it's like, you've got the very, very basic, beginner foundation steps, and then everything else goes on top of that. And none of these will come into place, or if they do, be correct or effective, unless you have your basics really, really strong.
Right. And it's interesting that you put this together because just so you know, a little my background is I've worked in a lot of different fields. Like I'm in the film industry, I'm in podcasting, I've actually worked at a dentist's office. And one of the funny things that I found that like people have the most trouble with is their finances, and like either putting it there, or maybe it was there, then it's not there anymore and it kind of gets misplaced, or people forget. Like, why do you suppose that happens? Is it, that people kind of lose track of all these things where like it should be there, but it's not? Or like maybe they think about, maybe they don't think about it as much. Like, is it actually valuable to have those things, in place first?
In place first before what?
Your business. Like if the person's in a business or who owns a business, to like actually run and roll through these things. Like, a lot of people make the mistake of just, maybe they don't have it, or they have it, but it's not fully set up yet. Or like it's almost one of those places where it's like, if there's so much confusion in one place in any company, that's probably one of the biggest places where there's a lot of confusion. Like, why do you suppose that is?
Well, there's a few different things. One is that it's been made very confusing. Like taxes are confusing. There's nothing that you can say about that that's not confusing. It's like you try to understand. I posted this reel the other day, and it was like, these two like Arabic guys, and one was the IRS, and he's like, you have to pay your taxes. Okay, how much do I owe? Habibi, you have to figure it out. He's like, why do I have to figure it out? Don't you know how much I owe? And he's like, you should know how much you owe, but don't you know? Yes. Well, we know. Well, can you tell me? No. Well, what if I'm wrong? Then you go to jail. So it's like, it's not that bad, but it is confusing because you've got tax brackets, you've got tax write-offs, you've got credits, you've got deductions, you've got different laws that apply in different situations. It's a lot of rules. And then the state that you're in has rules. The country you're in, the US has rules. And then maybe the city, district, or whatever that you're in has other rules having to do with payroll and stuff. So it's very understandable why it's overwhelming and confusing to people. It's even confusing to me. The taxes sometimes, like I have CPAs and stuff that I can ask questions to. But the bookkeeping part is generally not confusing. But because it's connected to taxes, it becomes confusing and it's kind of scary for people. Or they don't have, they have words that they don't understand in it. Like, what is accounting? What is bookkeeping? What is a profit and loss? So obviously when you have words you don't understand in an area, it makes it hard to confront that area. And they also have a lack of knowledge of how to do it. Let's say you have someone who goes to school there for film or whatever. They're like, okay, good. I'm going to go start a company as a podcaster, or they're a communications major or whatever. And then, or they even go work in Hollywood, but they're getting paid $10.99. They own a company now and they don't know what to do. What does that mean? How is that different than being an employee? So you have to get help from someone who knows, and there's software you can use. There's lots of different software. QuickBooks, obviously, being the most common one that we know about. And, when you're just starting out, you might not need or have the finances to afford a full-time bookkeeper, but you can ask for a consultation. You can go watch all of my podcasts, my YouTube, whatever, or ask for a consultation, or just learn enough that you can be carved over the area. Because you don't need to know everything about bookkeeping and accounting in order to be able to run your company or be, do your freelancing. But you do need to know enough to be able to make smart choices. So find someone who you can ask questions to. You can get a consultation who can help you set it up. And here's the thing, sometimes people come to me before they've even started their company and they're freaking out because they don't know. And what about the taxes and how should I? And it's kind of like, hey, look, we can set up your books, but if there's not even money happening yet, don't even worry about it. Go build your business, go make money. Keep that as your stable first, data. Go make money. Once you have money coming in, now organize it.
Right.
So that would be the sequence. Yes, there are certain things you need to do. You need to get, if you have an LLC, which has good legal protection, then you want to get a bank, an EIN, so a tax ID number for that LLC. You want to get a bank account for that LLC. You want to keep all of your business finances separate from your personal finances.
Mm-hmm.
So you do want to do those things, but none of those things are hard or take a lot of time. And if you are trying to set up an LLC, reach out to me. I can help you set it up. We have a service that we do. It's pretty easy. I just want to say that, if it seems hard.
Yeah.
New things are hard. When you just start a company, everything is hard. Everything is complicated. Now I've set up enough LLCs. It's it takes me 5 minutes. Okay.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But, for instance, I had to design a business card yesterday. even with someone helping me design it, it was like, oh, move this here, and the back and forth. It took forever. But it didn't take as long as the first time I had to design a business card, you know? So it's like, at least things get faster. But things you don't know, you feel stupid. Maybe you're really good at using a camera. You're really good at podcasting, but you're doing something new. You're doing bookkeeping, or you're doing just the bookkeeping for your business. You're going to feel stupid. And you have to be able to be willing to dive in, learn about it, understand the basic concepts, and get through that feeling of stupidity, because you're not stupid. You're just learning something new.
Right. And I think that's why a lot of people are scared to start something. Like, you know, I know a lot of people who had great ideas about starting something, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so scared about the financial part and like the taxes and everything else. So it's kind of interesting that you put that. It's really just not having enough data about the thing, because it's like a mystery, you know, and people get confused, and they do bad things in terms of like not knowing what to do and what it is. So it's like a learning experience in a way.
Yeah, but almost anything, like, unless you're purposefully trying to go out there and do some shady shit, right? Like, anything you do wrong on accident is fixable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I already started making money for my business, but I don't have a business bank account yet. Okay, good. Go open a business bank account. We'll show in your books what happened, and it'll be, you know, enough data for the IRS if they ever wanted to look at it. It's fine. Like, don't be scared. Don't do something that you know is fraud, because you're probably going to get caught. You're probably going to get in trouble. But don't make a lack of knowledge the reason not to start. Just start and you'll get the knowledge. I mean, I said this on a podcast like a couple weeks ago. Like, you have to be a little bit naive, a little bit cocky, you know, a little bit whatever, and have balls to start something new, because it's not easy. And something that will take you much less time in a few months or a few years is going to take you forever. The first time I had to put together a proposal probably took me like 3 days. You know, now it's like, I already have my templates, my software, it's done in 5 minutes. But I didn't know how to do it. I was like, do I need to add graphics? Do I need to do this? Like, I mean, now with Chat GPT, like, you can like, man, if I had Chat GPT when I first started my company and I knew how to use it, that's like a game changer. You know, and all the AI and stuff. I know some people hate AI, but it's, you know, it's such a great tool. I wrote a contract, you know, in about half an hour with Chat GPT. I write policies for my company. I mean, okay, yeah, write the contract and then send it to a lawyer for review. Yeah, but like, I write policy for my company. I just like write down my thoughts, and then I say, make this sound like a policy or whatever. And then it turns it, and I edit it a little bit, and I'm done.
Yeah.
So anyways, like, you're going to feel that way, and you just have to be, I don't know. There's not really a point of having, back off or not doing it, you know, like, or thinking about all the negative things. Like, yeah, they might all happen. Probably at one point they all will. But you know what? Do it anyways, because think of all like the positive things that you're going to get from that.
No, that's totally true. Is that it? You know, you have to be, it's almost like you kind of heard this before where, you know, you have to be willing to experience anything, you know, like you have to just go through the process of it, even if it sucks for a while. And it's like, that's part of the game. It's like, it's a game of like, it's a creation of something, because you're almost like giving birth. I'm not saying it's like giving birth, but it's like, it really is kind of like giving birth to like something amazing that you're trying to create out of nothing from something, you know?
Yeah. And like, I haven't given birth, so I can't like, you know, say that you're wrong or right.
Yeah.
It's not physically painful, but also like, don't think about all the negatives. They might all happen. They probably will all happen, but like, just be cocky, just be naive for a little while and be like, you know what? I have this amazing idea. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to start it, because I'm sure that that's what all the business owners did. They didn't, you know, Bill Gates didn't sit in his garage and think about, the fact that the IRS might tax him. He didn't sit in his garage and think about all the bad, and maybe he's not a good example. Some people hate him, but whatever. All these people are controversial. Elon Musk, like he had an idea and he went and did it. And if you go look at his history, there's been points where he was totally broke.
Right.
He's been sued. He's been, everything, but he still has made a difference and is successful. So I don't know. It's like, yeah, there's lots of things that could go wrong, but let's concentrate on all the good things that could go right, because the things that go wrong might happen anyways. Like, why worry about them? If you worry about them, like prepare, like make sure that you do get bookkeeping, make sure that you are tracking, and you aren't doing stupid things. Get more knowledge as you go, just like if there's a hurricane coming, get storm shutters, right? But like, don't not move to Florida because there might be a hurricane. It's like, why be worried about it all the time? Just do it and deal with whatever happens as it happens and do your best.
Right. And it's cool that you're, because I really appreciate, because you're a very amazing artist, and like you've also like done a lot to help people with that, So I guess for like people who are also for listening that like want to learn from you as a business owner, like what for you that helped you make $1 million, what are some key things that you felt helped you a lot with making that happen?
Okay, so I think it helped for me that I am a bookkeeper, because I analyze dollars in, dollars out, and I go, okay, I put money into this. Here's what my profit was. I put money into this. Here's what my profit was. That's not profitable. And I think about my time the same way. So for instance, even before I started my company, I was thinking about, the accounting field and how do I make a lot of money in the accounting field. And I said, I'm just going to go to school and be an accountant. I was working a full-time job. So I said, cool, I'll go nights and weekends. And then I realized that basically it was going to take me about 7 years to get that degree, like that 4-year degree, because I was only going part-time. And I went, okay, hang on a second. That doesn't really make sense, because if my purpose is to help people using this and also to make a lot of money, right? So I can do the things I want to do, invest back in my community, all these different things. This is too long of a runway. It's not a good investment for me. So after a few semesters, and I had to start at like, remedial algebra or something. It wasn't like, I did business 101, but it was also like, they're like, you need to learn calculus. And I was like, oh man, that was a while ago.
Oh, God.
Right. So I was like, I like going to school. I like learning, but this is not a good investment of my time. And so after a few semesters, I was like, you know what? I'm going to hire an accountant instead. And so I do that with everything in my company. I look at, is this a good investment? Is this a good investment of my time? Is this a good investment of my employees' time? Is this a good investment of my money? Because every single dollar in your business is supposed to be going to work for you. It's not just, you have to change how you look at it. It's not just like I'm paying my bills, I'm paying my utilities or I'm paying my payroll. No, I am investing in that employee. And are they a good investment? Okay, I'm paying my rent. I'm investing in my space. Is this a good investment? Would it make sense to go somewhere else and have less of an expense? Or is being in this location and spending this money making me more money?
Right. It's kind of like, if a girl does her nails, like, should I spend $13,000 on my nails to be gold plated, or should I just spend $50 and like...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And there's also like things you have to factor into that, which I've talked about. Like there's a certain amount of, this is worth my happiness,
Right.
Like, is it really important to like, okay, like I bought a dog, a few years ago. Mm-hmm. I love my dog. I'm obsessed with my dog. He just costs me money. He doesn't make me any money. But he's so cute and cuddly. He makes me happy. And me being happy, except for when he poops on my floor, right? But me being happy makes me more money. So you have to like, if getting your nails done, makes you happy and that is going to increase your production, then it's a good investment. But then it's like, you got to look at pros and cons. If you're like going to be broke if you get your nails done, then it maybe doesn't matter, because cake also makes me happy and I can only eat a certain amount of cakes. Otherwise I get fat and then I'm unhappy. So everything in life is a balance. It's never just like, it's never always yes or always no. It's a balance, right? But it's always, is this a good investment right now?
Yeah, it's interesting that you put that way because, I think a lot of people have financial troubles in terms of not just in terms of they spend too much. Well, maybe actually, but also they don't know what to spend. It's like, oh, we need this, we need that. But then they realize they spend too much and it's like an overwhelm of like what they actually spend rather than what's actually making the money.
Yeah. So again, because I am someone that just like tracks everything, I have stats, like KPIs for almost every area of my company. Obviously, when I started, I had less, I had a few. And then now I go, oh, wow, we have, a lot of tickets waiting on data for our clients. Why don't we make a stat for that and we can track it? Then we can put attention on it. Or like, okay, let's see where the leads are coming from. Okay, good. Make a graph for where each, lead source, whatever, things like that. So now I have a ton of graphs and KPIs for my company, and I can go in and see, like, you've got your lead measures and your lag measures. So your revenue is always a lag measure, but you have a lot of KPIs that are actually lead measures where you can directly see that if I get these KPIs going up, that will affect my revenue to go up. So you have to keep an eye on both because these ones tell you the future, right? So, I'm looking at those and I'm looking at my financial planning. So every week, and, there's been times where this has like fallen out and I didn't do it very well. But as, I own a bookkeeping firm, I can't like do this and then forget to do it myself. So every week, usually on the weekend, I sit down, I look at my revenue for the week. I look at all my, bills, all my things I have to pay for, payroll, everything, and I plan it out. And I'm planning for reserves and I'm planning for future. And I'm not spending more money than I'm making ever. So I am profitable. For a bookkeeping firm, like I'm at 25 to 30% profit margin, not EBITDA, right? But profit margin. So I'm doing very well. And why is that? Because I always have a financial plan. And it's not the same as a budget. It's not like a hope and a wish and let's see if I made the budget. All the money that comes in sits in a holding account or sits in an income account and nothing gets touched until the end of the week when I sit down and do a financial plan for the new week. And I go, great, this goes to this account. This goes to the payroll account. This goes to the ops account. This goes to the profit. And I plan it out dollar by dollar.
Wow.
Like, do I need to plan it better still? Yeah, I'm sure I do. There's always room for improvement. But that's why I'm profitable. I'm not spending money I don't have. So it's like, yeah, you want a new computer or you want a new this or a new that, do a financial plan. Now, obviously, my company is bootstrapped. And from the very beginning, it's been, I think I took a loan when I quit my job and it was like $20,000 loan or something that had to get me through the first couple of months. But pretty much other than that, it's been, I don't have investors. I don't really have lenders. So it's been all on me. And I've done it all with actual cash. Obviously, that's different if you have a company that has investors. That's a different thing. And sometimes you're building your company, and you're not even making any revenue yet. And that's a whole different thing. But for most small businesses, they are also bootstrapped and they're doing it themselves. So is there a time to get an investment or a loan for an expansion thing? Yes, it's not that that's wrong, but keep in mind that you have to be able to afford the payments. You have to plan it out, look at the future, how that's going to affect you. And that's what you need bookkeeping for. And honestly, having bookkeeping also gets you in the habit of tracking. And you also can't do financial planning without bookkeeping. So it's really like the basic.
Right. So I guess I want to actually talk about your services. So I guess could you tell us a little bit about, I know obviously besides bookkeeping, you do that, but are there other services that you do at the company?
Yeah, I mean, we do basically kind of like outsourced accounting department services, so full service. So we'll do payroll, we'll set up, a lot of companies are hiring people from multiple states. So
Yeah.
every time you hire someone from a different state, you have to register in that state for payroll. So we can set all that up. We do accounts receivable and accounts payable, meaning we'll send out accounts receivable is, collecting money. So we will send out all your invoices. So people pay you, we will pay your bills. We'll, put together your financial plan. So cause it's sort of funny because we're in this day and age where you need that service, but you don't necessarily, it's not a full-time job anymore because it doesn't, even for a several million revenue company, it's still not a full-time job. Maybe for a construction company, it would be, right? Because they have so many things to keep track of. But for most companies, everything is online. It takes a few hours a week or a few hours a month. So your choices are either have your office manager do it and hope that they know how to do that, or to hire a bookkeeping firm for a few hours a week or a few hours a month to keep everything organized for you. Mm-hmm. So office managers that know how to do bookkeeping really well are few and far between.
Yeah. That's really cool. I feel like it gives me more understanding of how that actually works. Cause people, as it's a learning curve. So you have to learn and understand these things. So it's actually, this is probably the first time I ever talked to anyone about a bookkeeping. And it's kind of interesting how you put it, and just the way you put it was very simple. It made it super simple. And actually I think in a way it is simple. It's just when you define those things, then it becomes so much more simpler.
Yeah, 100%. And it's honestly simple enough where business owners could do it themselves for the most part. There's maybe 15 to 25% of it that has to do with taxes, and it gets complicated, right? But the basic stuff is pretty simple. But it also comes to a point for a business owner, is this a good investment of your time?
Right.
Because if just like for me that, I built a proposal and it took me 3 days to build it. And I could have asked you to do it and you probably would have done it in 5 minutes and I could have paid you to do it. Yeah. So it's and I probably did it wrong, and so for a business owner doing this, is it a good investment for them? Do they know how to do it? And the amount of time that it's going to take them, is that a good investment of their time, even if they know how to do it and they're good at it? And then if they don't know how to do it really well and they're trying to figure it out or do it, then it's going to be wrong, have to be redone, and waste a bunch of their time.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, so one of the questions I always ask business owners, is there an example that you have that you felt anyone you've worked with that was wow, they were coming from a really, excuse my French, really shitty situation, and then you brought them up to wow, I actually helped this person. Was there any successes you've had that you want to share or that you thought it was great?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, probably a lot of them, probably almost all of them, because they come in. I mean, I'll give you a specific story, but in general, people come in all confused, all overwhelmed, all stressed out.
Yeah.
And either they were trying to do it themselves, do it right. Their office manager was trying to do it right, and it's wrong, and they know it doesn't make sense, and it's confusing. They're not in compliance with things that they know they're supposed to be in compliance with. And then they come to me, and I'm like, sure, yeah, we'll help you. And the mission statement for my company is complete and perfect financial records for the business owner's peace of mind. Mm-hmm. So I tell them that, and they're like, oh, because it's such, oh, and then I go, I got you. And then, you can see it, and they're like, thank you. And we do, we get, the beginning is always lots of confusion and oh, what's this thing? And what's that? And, it's a lot of back and forth. But once we get through that part, then it's easy and they don't have to worry about it. But specifically after COVID, I had a new client who had paid payroll to his employees at the beginning of COVID, but no longer was contracted with that bookkeeper who didn't have the records. I even reached out to her. She didn't have the records. She said they were on his computer. He didn't have them. We had to recreate his payroll records. The California was trying to collect a lot of money from him based on previous year's payroll. But that was no longer the case because he had a company that basically like went on pause during COVID. So he only paid a couple of payrolls at the beginning of, 2020 or whatever. And then that was it. So we recreated his payroll and, got everyone their W-2s and the 1099s for the people who weren't payroll but received 1099s from scratch, from figuring out from the net payroll. And it was very time consuming. And I have a very brilliant bookkeeper who was able to figure it all out. I'm definitely not like offering that service as a, whatever, because it was really quite a project, but we saved him. I think it was tens of thousands of dollars, probably close to $35,000. I'd have to get he wrote it down somewhere. So I have the exact amount, but not in front of me, because we were able to show that their records were wrong based on prior years. And here's what it actually was. So here's all he really owes. So that was probably one of my best, directly showing not just like peace of mind. And because of the peace of mind, you can make more money, but where we saved him a ton of money because we fixed his bookkeeping.
Wow, that's awesome. So I guess for like people who, who are listening, some of them are business owners, some of them are just like looking to start something. So let's say, for example, if someone wants to start like as a bookkeeping, a business around that, or even like some handling taxes or anything like that, what do you suggest to those people who want to do it? Like, just if you were to start over from scratch, like if you knew the information that you had today, what are some advice you would give to them to start in order to start that?
So I would probably do the exact way that I did do it because I think it was very successful. I would find a company where the business owner has someone who knows how to do the finances and get a job there as an entry-level person and get them to teach you. Because of course you can go to school and you can go get an accounting degree, but they don't really teach you QuickBooks. They don't really teach you bookkeeping when you get an accounting degree. They just teach you the basics, right? So there's accountants who don't really know how to do like detailed bookkeeping, but they know how to do taxes. You can obviously, if you're really smart and a go-getter, you can go just learn on YouTube, on Udemy, there's lots of different classes. But whenever anyone asks me, I say, go get an entry-level job. If you're at a place in your life where you can, afford that, go get an entry-level job and just learn it by experience and just learn one thing at a time. Because, maybe you'll only get paid 15 or 20 bucks an hour to start, but you will get the experience. And I think that people who take a class and then go start their own company right away, can run into a lot of problems and have a lot of mistakes that have to get fixed. And if they don't have someone that's reviewing their work, that could cause a lot of problems.
Right. That's really, I think that's really good advice too. Cause I don't think I would be here today. Like, to give you an example, I've done a lot of different, like I mentioned earlier, I've done a lot of different jobs in different areas. Like I was in a dentist's office. I trained the staff at dentist's office and how to run it. I also made checklists of how to set it up. I did health events. So I actually put events there and did public speaking and did all these different things. So actually, I think what was cool is that what you mentioned is really true, is that when you're not going to learn it all. You may not all learn it from books or from just, just studying in life, but you actually get the experience of it. And I think the experience is really good. Like even myself as a podcaster, it's like you have to, there's no book that's going to tell you or give you the experience until you actually do it. Like you just have to just go out there and just even if it's like hell or it's it's awful, you still just do it and you persist about it. And I think that's what's really key, is that you just continue to persist and you just get the experience, even if it's takes you a year or maybe even two, but you at least have that experience to actually just do it. Because I find it's very, very important.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, you can't, it's okay, people ask me okay, well, what do I do so I can charge as much money as you guys do? And I'm have 20 years of experience. What do I literally have been doing. I have more than 20 years. I've literally been doing this since I was 18. And not to say that you have to wait until you have 20 years of experience, but I know that I can solve 99.8% of anything in QuickBooks or bookkeeping, and it's if you just started out and you know how to do data entry in QuickBooks, that's great. That's a good skill to build on. But you can't, I don't think it would be fair to someone else to charge them a lot of money for that skill, because that's just like a small portion of the skills that you need. So you got to build your skills to where you have the experience, and maybe not years and years, but even when I started, doing freelance bookkeeping, I didn't charge what I charge now.
Right.
Now I'm also paying for like marketing and HR and all these things, and has to fund my whole company, but still.
Awesome. That's so cool. Well, thank you very much for the time. And I love asking you these questions. I think that was really cool because I also gained knowledge too on how bookkeeping works. As you know, it's not a very known and well field that people understand. So I really appreciate the time that you took to actually explain it, and also even to the audience, I just kind of understand how this works. So for people who want to reach out to you or even just learn about your services or book a call with you, like to get more help with their bookkeeping services, how can people reach out to you? How can people like look you up? Like where can people find you?
Yeah. So my website is solvencynow.com. You can also email me directly at maya@solvencynow.com. I'm sure he's going to put the spelling on the bottom of the screen, so you guys will have that. You can find me on Facebook under Solvency Now Bookkeeping, or under Maya Weinreb, Instagram, Maya Weinreb, or Solvency Now Bookkeeping, TikTok, YouTube. I have a podcast that's everywhere podcasts are. But basically the best way is just email me. You can send a smoke signal. I'll probably find you. I have like my lead people looking for who needs help. But yeah, you can, if you know someone who knows me, you can text me. I get, hey, can you help me on this? Or this person's looking for help. So, and I always am here to help. And even if it's not something that I can do myself, I know people who know how to do it. So I will, help you find someone, even if it's not me. But I can help on most things, a lot of things. If you're just starting out, I can do a consultation. I can tell you like the right things to do to get started. I can help you set up your QuickBooks, all that. So yeah, solvencynow.com, maya@solvencynow.com, or Facebook, Instagram, smoke signal. You will get a hold of me.
Smoke signal. I like that. That's pretty funny.
If you literally post, I need help on my bookkeeping on Facebook, like 3 or 4 people will tag me. So I'll find you. But you can email me, maya@solvencynow.com.
Great. All right, cool. Well, thank you for joining us. And I thank everyone for listening to this episode. And if you guys love this and want to hear more content like this, please like and subscribe to this channel. Because I think maybe we'll have her back. Maybe, I don't know, if you guys like it so much, then we'll have her back for part 2, maybe. So definitely, so like and subscribe to this channel. And I definitely want to hear more from you guys and what kind of content you like. And I hope you guys can command your brands. That's the logo. Yeah. Thank you. That's right. All right. Well, thank you for joining the show, Maya, and I will see you around.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.